Hello my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara, and today we're going to be looking at Pallas in your natal chart. So Pallas is an asteroid in your natal chart. If you are unsure about what sign and house you have it in, what you guys can do is go on astro.com under the additional objects section. You guys can select Pallas, and then it's going to give you information as to what house and sign you guys have it in. So some background information about Pallas, just so we can understand what this means in our natal charts a little bit better, is that it comes from Athena. So Athena was the daughter of Zeus. She was born through his forehead. And when she was born, she came out already in armor. She was ready to fight. She very much has that warrior spirit. She's also the sister of Mars. So the way we can look at Pallas, which is Athena, is that she is the feminine polarity to that Martian energy. The Martian impulse and the Martian energy is very much all about being straightforward. It's very masculine in that sense, where it's like you go after things, you're very penetrative, you can even be aggressive in terms of your goals. Now, the feminine energy when it comes to conflict and going after goals and your passions in life is going to be a little bit more strategic. Keep in mind, we all have these energies within us. It's just a matter of which energy are you dabbling into. So that's one thing that this is going to symbolize in our natal chart. Another thing is that in the story, as the story goes, Athena loved to fight. She loved sparring and all these sorts of things. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is she killed her friend Pallas. So as a symbol of her grief, she took on Pallas's name. And this is why also this asteroid can symbolize how we heal and how we go about handling our grief in our life. So that's another thing that this asteroid can symbolize for us. Now, one more thing that it can symbolize as well is because it does deal with the strategy in life, it can also symbolize our creative ideas as to how we go about achieving these things. So the creativity impulse as well. Now, one more thing that I also want to mention is that this asteroid can also symbolize our issues with our father, because it is all about her and her father, Zeus, which, by the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned, in modern astrology, Zeus is represented by the planet of Jupiter. So this is the story. So in this video, what we're going to be going over is each of the signs and basically what it means in terms of how you strategize things, how you apply this in your life in terms of getting your passions and your goals. We're also going to be looking at how you heal through situations and unfortunate circumstances and maybe how you handle grief. And we're going to be touching on that creative energy as well, how these ideas may come through for you. And I will also touch on what kind of issues you may have with your father. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the sign of Aries. So for those of you who do have Pallas in the sign of Aries, you're going to be very fast in terms of your ideas. This is how your creativity is going to come through. In terms of your strategies, you're going to get those ideas really, really quickly. It's all going to come through for you. Now, a downside to this could be that you guys get very impatient in terms of strategizing. It's like you guys can initiate something, you're going to be very excited about it, but you guys might not get that outcome that you're seeking right away, and then you guys jump on to the next thing. So this could be something that you guys work on if you do have Pallas in the sign of Aries. Just keep in mind, Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is that masculine impulse. And we're trying to balance it out here with that feminine energy, where the feminine is patient and takes her time and plans things out. They're very much strategic. So you guys will get those ideas come through, but again, you might have to work on the patience aspect of things when it comes to healing and maybe grief that has taken place in your life. For you guys, when you have Pallas in the sign of Aries, I find that you guys are probably going to be very much all about let's move on, let's get moving. Really all about moving the body in one way, shape, or form. So if something happens to you guys and you guys are in need of healing at that moment, you guys might immediately want to go on a walk or a run or just go exercise of some sort, because again, you want to get that energy out. Even if you're triggered in a situation, this might take place if you do have Pallas in the sign of Aries. Now, when it comes to a father, for you guys, a type of father or issues that you may have with your father is that your father was very much masculine in terms of their ego. They could have been very abrupt. They could have even been very harsh in terms of their words. Could have been very much pushing you guys to go in a certain direction as well. There could have even been a lot of conflict with the father, or a lot of anger with the father, or a lot of like abrupt explosions of energy. This is the type of father you may have had, or issues that you may have had with your father. Maybe something that bothers you about your father could have been maybe the way that he handled conflict resolution or didn't handle it at all. So these are a few things that could have taken place if you do have Pallas in the sign of Aries. If you have Pallas in the sign of Taurus, you guys are going to be strategic in terms of very much thinking things through. That's really that energy when you have Taurus in there. You guys have some sort of goal, so you're not going to be overly aggressive where it's like you're jumping into it right away. You're going to take a step back, you're going to look at the bigger picture, you're going to maybe write down your goals, and you're going to think about how can I get to this. Very strategic in that sense. This is going to be the way that you guys are going to go about executing things. You're going to be very much planners, very much writing things down, very much thinking things through. That's the thing with the Taurus energy. It's all about slow and steady wins the race. It's very interesting because it's very different compared to, let's say, Pallas and Aries, where Pallas and Aries is very abrupt. in terms of the things that they want. You guys are going to be very much, again, strategic in this way. Now, a few ways that you guys can get your creative ideas could be from engaging in Taurus-like things and very much Venusian-like things. So anytime you guys are working, making money, you guys can get more ideas about how to strategize your goals and get to these sorts of visions that you guys have for yourselves. Also, when you guys are maybe doing things like being on a luxurious vacation is going to be very much activating for you guys in terms of your creative ideas of how you guys are going to go about executing some sort of goals you guys have for yourselves. Keep in mind that Taurus energy is all about material things. You guys do want to have luxurious things, nice things, brand names, houses, cars, all these types of things. And that energy of Pallas and Taurus is going to be very much strategic about this, about how you guys are going to get those things that you guys are seeking. Now, a way that you guys handle grief or that you guys heal could be, again, you guys take your time. Things like you start focusing more so on your work, you start focusing more so on your goals. You guys can really take your time with these sorts of things to process them. Now, another thing that can also take place is that maybe you guys handle your grief by buying cars or houses or kind of buying things to make yourselves feel better, maybe going on shopping sprees, maybe going through experiences, having luxurious experiences, like these types of things. This could be very much healing for you guys as well. I can see you guys even going and like getting like an expensive watch or something of that sort, maybe to help you guys heal through a certain situation. But keep in mind, it's anything Venusian. It can even be like looking at art pieces or purchasing beautiful art pieces or making your home look beautiful or even doing like home renovations. Now, the dynamic you guys may have with your father or issues that you may have with him could be that your father was very much materialistic. There could have been a huge focus maybe on material items when you guys were growing up, maybe not so much focus on the emotional energy, or maybe your father wasn't as present because maybe he was off working or focusing again on building. Another issue that you may have with your father could be that he is petty when it comes to money. He could be very much like, I built these things, you have to go off and build them yourself. Could be an energy of this as well if you do have Pallas in the sign of Taurus. If you have Pallas in the sign of Gemini, in terms of strategy and strategizing and getting these ideas of how you guys can go about your goals, you guys might be a little bit more on the naive side. What might take place is maybe you're going to share all of your ideas with all of your friends. Maybe your friends are going to take your ideas from you, or they might jinx you. I mean, that's a real thing that exists out there. So there could be an energy of this that takes place because, again, Gemini is all about talking. You guys are all about your friends. So you guys might say all of your plans to people around you. And, you know, in terms of energy and how energy works is people can very much jinx you. Like I mentioned, it really could take place. Evil eye is a real thing. Another thing that can take place with this energy as well, if you do have Pallas in the sign of Gemini, is in terms of achieving your goals. You guys might jump from one thing, you know, very quickly. You guys might not be getting the outcome that you guys are seeking because a lot of these earlier signs very much are about short-term gratification. And if they're not getting the outcome that they're seeking right away, you guys might drop it and move on to the next thing. So this is a thing in terms of strategizing. You guys might have to work on focusing on certain things or picking one thing and sticking to that thing until it's done and then moving on to the next thing. Now, a few other things here are that for you guys, when you're healing or maybe you're processing grief, things that can be very healing for you guys could be the written or the spoken word. You guys could be very good at writing, journaling, getting things out of your system in this way. Even speaking, so speaking to your friends, to your family, talking about certain things that have taken place. Or again, it depends on the rest of your natal chart. If you guys maybe have more scorpionic energy and you're more hidden, you guys can find a way to express this through art, but again, through the written or the spoken word. So if you do have a hard time maybe articulating your emotions when you guys are healing through a certain experience, then maybe you guys can take a more scorpionic approach where it's like you speak in riddles, or you guys write poetry, or you guys like aren't clear, but at least it's getting out of your system. Or you guys can do it just for yourselves and nobody has to see this work. This could be a way that you guys do go about healing. Now, one more thing that I also do want to mention is that a few issues that you may have had with your father could be that your father maybe talked a lot, didn't execute on things that he spoke about. Maybe he didn't keep his promises. Maybe he was inconsistent. Maybe he would say something. And again, it could have been without even realizing. Maybe it could have been something in passing where it's like, this weekend we're going to go here. And then it's like by the time the weekend comes, maybe you guys don't go to that place, but you as a child like held on to that. There could have been an energy of this in terms of your dynamic with your father where it's like he came off very inconsistent or very flighty or very like flaky in terms of like making plans and like actually going through with the promises that maybe he made. Now, another thing that could have taken place with your father as well is he could have been more intellectual than emotional. So there could have been a huge focus on the mind, not so much of a focus on the emotions and talking about emotions and speaking about emotions as well. So these are a few things that could take place for those of you who do have Pallas in the sign of Gemini. If you have Pallas in the sign of Cancer, for you guys, strategizing and going about your goals is going to be a little bit smoother because the Cancerian energy is already very much naturally feminine. So for you guys, a huge focus is going to be surrounding intuition, emotions, emotional intelligence. You guys are very much going to nurture your goals and your projects just like having a little baby. So this could be something that takes place if you do have Pallas in the sign of Cancer. Now, also I want to mention that another way that you guys can strategize is through emotional manipulation. Now, I know we hear that word and we think it's something negative, but sometimes emotional manipulation can be things like you creating an emotional connection, maybe with a product that you're selling. Let's say you guys are in something like business. It could be things like creating an emotional connection with your audience in terms of the ad that you guys create, or creating an emotional reaction of some sort. I guess that can go a little bit more into like the negative light, but unfortunately that is what sells. So you guys are going to strategize and go about achieving your goals in this way. It's going to be very intuitive. You guys are going to be very feeling based. You're going to feel into things. Is this opportunity right for me? Is this opportunity not right for me? You're going to be very much emotionally intelligent. So the creative ideas that you guys receive could be in this way. It could be through your intuition. It could be through your psychic gifts. It can be through your emotions. It could be taking your emotions and channeling them into art. Your creative ideas could also take place when you guys are at home on your own, again, in your own energy, thinking, feeling, all these types of things. You guys can get your downloads that way. And it can be through your family and your friends, because Cancer very much does deal with that energy. It's very much a nurturing energy. Now, for you guys, when you guys do go through something and you guys are going through maybe processing grief, or you're going through your healing process, for you guys is going to be very healing to be with your friends, be with your family, be surrounded by people that you guys care about, being able to talk about your emotions and talk them through, because you guys are going to be very much feelers. Now, another thing that can take place when you guys are healing is you guys can become more reserved. You guys can go more so into your shell. It's the little crab. So you guys might spend more time at home, more time maybe journaling, just spending time with yourself in your own energy, doing very much self-care things like taking baths, meditating, spending time in nature, really spending time with yourselves, so you guys can balance those energies within you. Now, a few issues that you guys may have with your father could be things like maybe he was emotionally abusive, maybe he was emotionally neglectful. You could have had a father that was more feminine energy leaning. So maybe a few issues that you had with him could be maybe he was more passive, maybe he wasn't more so in like a dominant masculine role, maybe he was more lethargic, maybe he could have been lazy. But a lot of the time what's happening with this placement is that there's a lot of emotions and maybe a lot of unprocessed emotions on the father's part. So the way that he handled this could have either been by shutting off, being emotionally neglectful. Even alcoholism is something that tends to be a pattern in terms of Cancerian placements. That might not resonate for everybody, but again, keep in mind it does deal with emotions, so it can deal with ways that your father expresses emotions or their lack of. So these are a few ways that Pallas in the sign of Cancer can manifest. If you have Pallas in the sign of Leo, a few ways that you guys can be strategic about going about your goals could be through your creativity, it could be through your inner child, it could be through even working with children. So this could be a way that maybe you guys get to where you're trying to get to. Now, it could be something like being a teacher, maybe you guys want to be a principal, it could be something of this sort, or it can just be more so a metaphor where it's your inner child that you guys are using to try to get to where you guys are trying to get to. Now, it could be also, interestingly enough, is coming through you coming off more childlike to people, innocent, using your innocence to get to where you're trying to get to. You guys can really play this up. Keep in mind, it's that strategy. So you guys are using these things to strategize and get an outcome that you guys are looking for, and it's more so in a feminine way. So you've thought about this. It's something that you guys have calculated. So it's going to be more so in a Leo way. It could also be things like through your connections. Maybe you guys have certain friends in certain positions. And maybe it could be things like, you're showing people, I don't know, on things like Instagram, a picture of you and this like owner of a restaurant. So you guys can show people, I am important, because that's that Leo energy. Leo always wants to be important. I'm important. Look who I know. Look at me. And then basically that can elevate you guys to try to get to where you guys are trying to get to. That's the whole thing here. Keep in mind, it's strategy. In terms of your creativity and your ideas for going about these goals are going to come through creative things. That's the thing. That's that Leo energy. So it can be through your whole expression of your being. It can be through the way you guys dress, the way you guys speak, the way that you guys just express yourselves overall. It can also be through things like acting or singing or teaching. It really depends on the rest of your natal chart, because ultimately at the end of the day, creativity is endless. But when you guys are maybe engaging in these activities, you guys are going to get your ideas. You guys are always thinking how you guys can get to that end goal. That's that energy. When we look at Pallas, it is that feminine expression of the masculine polarity of Mars. Mars is more aggressive. The Pallas energy is going to be more feminine in terms of calculating of how to execute a certain goal that they do have. Now, for you guys in terms of healing, maybe how you guys handle grief can be engaging in any of these activities. So anytime you guys are doing something creative, or maybe you guys are being funny or just being seen, is going to be a very healing experience for you. Maybe you guys are going to express your emotions through things like acting. This could be something as well that takes place where it's like you're channeling certain things that have taken place to you and you guys are expressing emotions. Maybe you guys had a hard time expressing these emotions and now you guys, I don't know, take on a role where you guys are crying and it's like cathartic and all these sorts of things, and those emotions are coming out. So this could be another way that you guys do heal and express this. Now, finally, some issues that you guys may have had with your father could be things like maybe it was a very narcissistic father, very ego-driven father, could have been a father that maybe suppressed your light, did not allow you guys to shine, maybe wanted to outdo you guys, or it could have gone in the opposite direction where they pushed you to shine and they pushed you to be in certain roles. Very ego-driven. There could have been a lot of ego in terms of the father, a lot of friction in this area. These are a few things that can manifest if you guys do have Pallas in the sign of Leo. If you have Pallas in the sign of Virgo, a few ways that you guys go about strategizing your goals are going to be very analytical. You guys are going to be all about the mind. So you guys already have that energy going on in there. You're already very analytical, and this placement, Pallas in general, is going to be all about strategizing. So you guys are going to think of certain strategies of how you guys can get there. You're going to think about things. You're going to really think them through. You're going to really be like, okay, how can I get there? What do I need to do to get there? Very much this. So you can also be very much attention to detail. Maybe you guys are going to see little gaps in certain situations with, you know, maybe a job application, maybe nobody has noticed that before, and maybe they need a certain type of skill and you guys have that skill, and maybe it's not something that the other applicants really noticed and you guys really play up the skill, and then the managers or the hiring team says, wow, like this person really has this thing that we need, and whatever it is, it's all about strategizing. So you guys are going to be very good at that because you're going to use these Virgo-like skills. Now, in terms of your creativity and your ideas, they're going to come through Virgo-like ways. So again, thinking, analyzing, you know, really putting that mind to work. Anytime you guys are thinking, boom, an idea comes through. It can also be things like when you're being of service. So maybe you guys are a service provider in one way, shape, or form. Maybe you guys are engaging in service. Maybe you guys are working in customer service. It can be through all these sorts of things that you guys get ideas. It's really what that is. Your ideas and your creativity do flow through. Now, in terms of healing and how you guys might handle grief, could be through healing others. Keep in mind, anytime people are healing others, there are no gurus in this world. Everybody is inadvertently healing themselves, even when they are healing others. So maybe you guys are going to be in certain circumstances or situations. Maybe you guys are going to volunteer. Maybe you guys are going to volunteer at like a women's shelter or a men's shelter, whatever it is. You guys do volunteer at these places. And for you, in turn, this is going to be a very healing experience. So anytime you guys do engage in these sorts of things, through that action, you guys are going to be healing in return. Now, in terms of the father and the issues you may have had with your father, could be that maybe you had a father that was very critical, very much logic-based, in the sense where it's like they were just hyper-focused on things, hyper-focused maybe on your flaws and like nitpicking. Keep in mind, anytime anyone is hypercritical, they are passing on their complexes onto you. It actually has nothing to do with you. So these could be a few ways that the Pallas in the sign of Virgo can manifest. If you have Pallas in the sign of Libra, for you guys, your strategies and the way you guys go about things is going to be very Venusian. Already, this energy is very naturally feminine energy leaning. So for you guys, it's going to be all about peacekeeping, keeping the peace, negotiating with people, mediating, these types of things. So you guys might find yourselves in situations where it's like, let's say a conflict arises. You guys might be the peacekeeper. You guys might be the mediator. You guys might be the one that says things like, let's talk things through. Let's find a compromise. Let's find a middle ground. So it could be very much this, because again, keep in mind, Athena is the yin version of Mars. Okay, so Mars is all about the masculine energy, conflict, and handling that in a masculine way. Athena is going to handle that in a more feminine way. So it's going to be things like finding a compromise, finding a middle ground, maybe talking things through, making sure that that peace gets kept. So in terms of going about achieving your goals, and the strategies you guys put in place could be very much connections, making friends, being social, connecting with people in this way. Libra does have that skill where they are able to speak to everyone from all walks of life. There's no judgment with them. They do connect a lot of people together. So you guys can take advantage of this and connect with people. And again, you're strategizing. This is a way that you guys go about achieving your goals. Now, in terms of your creative ideas, they're going to come through anytime you engage in Venusian Libra-like things. Maybe like interior design, going to museums, going to classical concerts, going to fashion shows, styling, anything that's very much Venusian, anything that's aesthetically pleasing, even when you guys get dressed up. You guys can get creative ideas this way as well. Now, in terms of healing, these could be a few ways that you guys heal as well. It could be through your appearance. It could be through the way you guys dress. It can be through going to these types of things. Maybe for you guys, going to things like fashion shows and just beautiful things in general can be very much a healing experience. Let's say you guys are going through something and you're processing grief. Maybe it's going to be a beautiful song that helps you guys heal. It's very much the Venusian things in life. Now, in terms of your father and maybe issues that you guys might have had with your father, it could have been very much a people-pleasing father. Maybe someone who was not direct in terms of their speech. maybe someone who tried to make everyone happy. It could have even been a father that was very much about the appearance. Maybe you guys noticed that your father was being disrespected in some types of ways, maybe through the other family members, and they want to keep the peace. They don't want to engage in conflict. They want everyone to be happy. And these could be some issues that you guys have with your father, because there isn't that direct energy. There isn't the energy of maybe even self-respect that took place in these types of situations. So these are just a few ways, a few random examples that I'm giving you guys of how this energy can manifest. But overall, this is if you have Pallas in the sign of Libra. Pallas in the sign of Scorpio. So the way that you guys are going to go about strategizing your goals is going to be very Scorpionic. Scorpio as a sign is already very much strategic. So for you guys are already going to have that energy going on in there where it's like you're very strategic about going about your goals. That's the thing here. It's like you guys are going to think about it. You guys are going to plan it out. You're always going to be 10 steps ahead. You might use your intuition in certain situations where it's like you just know what someone's thinking and you might know the right thing to say at that time to get that thing that it is that you guys are looking for. Highly, highly intellectual, that Scorpionic energy. Now, a few ways that you guys might get your creative ideas could be through Scorpio-like things. So it could be things like astrology videos. It could be things like talking about the occult, anything that's hidden. It can be through money, financial matters. A lot of the time it's other people's money. It can even be things like your sexuality. So through engaging in this, you guys can get ideas. You guys can get creative bursts of expression. Now, a few ways that you guys heal and maybe handle your grief could be very similar to this as well. It could be expressed through your sexuality. This could be a very healing experience for you guys. It could be expressed through receiving money, working with money, working maybe with other people's money. This could be a very healing experience for you guys as well. It could be things that are hidden, just talking about them, bringing them to the surface. Very much that Scorpionic energy. Keep in mind, Scorpio does deal with emotions overall. So it's kind of like this is already your area. You guys aren't afraid of emotions. You're not afraid to feel them. You're not afraid to go through the hardships in life. You're not afraid to heal. You guys go through a lot of changes and transformations in your life on an emotional level already. That's that Scorpionic energy. So in terms of healing, you guys are going to be okay with this energy. You're going to be okay to go inwards and start to explore the shadows. How did this manifest? How can I heal this? How did this come through? These types of things, but don't get too stuck in that energy. When you guys do have this placement, because Scorpio sometimes can get too stuck. They can really be in that brooding energy where they're just like overly focused on things that have taken place. There is a balance in life where it's like you do express it, you do integrate it, all these sorts of things, and then you move on. And then again, it's like the sine wave, and then it happens again and you go through it again. So these are a few ways that you guys can heal. Now, in terms of your father, a few issues that you guys may have had with him could be things like he was very cutthroat. He could have been very manipulative. There could have been things that weren't clear about him. There could have been addiction issues with the father as well. Emotions not really being expressed. There could have been a lot of hidden energy when you guys do have this placement. So these are a few ways that the Pallas in the sign of Scorpio can manifest. If you have your Pallas in the sign of Sagittarius, a few ways that you guys can strategize going about your goals is going to be through the higher mind. It's going to be through learning. It's going to be through education. It could even be through your connections, the people that you meet when you guys maybe are learning, maybe when you guys are traveling, learning through experience. It could be even at school, learning through your master's, PhD. Higher education is really the name of the game here for you guys. You guys are really going to plan these sorts of things out. Let's say you guys have a certain type of goal or ambition. You guys are going to look to see how you can meet people that are going to basically help you guys achieve that. Again, the higher mind. You're really using that, and you're going to connect with people in this type of way. Now, in terms of your ideas and creativity, your ideas might come through your spirituality. It might come through your mind. It might come through you guys just thinking and exploring and just asking yourselves the deeper questions in life. And as you guys are going through these motions, you guys might get ideas. You guys might get downloads of creativity. Now, in terms of healing, and maybe when you guys do experience grief, maybe going traveling abroad could be very much a healing experience for you guys. If you guys are the types that are all about learning and education, you guys might, start reading about things and learning and start to expand your minds even more. The thing is, because you guys do deal with the higher mind, anytime you guys are engaging in these activities, so it can be learning about philosophy, conversating about it, speaking to people about it, learning about religions, learning about esoteric topics, all these types of things could be very much healing for you guys, because that's the thing with the Sagittarian energy. They're mutable. So they want to learn from a lot of people, especially in this area of spirituality, philosophy, history even. So anytime you guys are learning anything to do with these topics, it's going to be very much a healing experience for you guys. Anytime you guys are able to be free, to be independent, to go traveling, maybe even run your own business, these types of things are going to be very healing for you guys. Now, the types of dynamics that you guys may have had with your fathers, the issues that you guys may have had with him could be that maybe he was too dogmatic, maybe he was too religious, or maybe he just had a very strict belief system and was maybe trying to impose that belief system on you guys. It could have been maybe something that he picked up on his own, and he could be strict in this way. It could be very limiting. Alternatively, maybe you guys had a father who traveled a lot. Maybe he wasn't present, and this had an effect on you guys as well. So these are a few ways that the Pallas in the sign of Sagittarius can manifest. If you have Pallas in the sign of Capricorn, the way that you guys go about strategizing and achieving your goals is going to be very Capricornian. So for you guys, you're going to be very much all about your connections, all about the people, learning from everybody. Sometimes I find this energy to be like, until they get to the place that they're trying to get to, they're going to be quiet. They're going to be the student. They're going to work really, really hard. And then boom, when the story flips around and they end up in the position that they're at, it's like the personality changes. So you guys can be very strategic in terms of achieving your goals in this way, speaking to a lot of people, having a lot of mentors, having a lot of people help you guys, even in terms of maybe your managers and your managers. You guys are going to very much think about this, think this through, because again, Capricorn has a certain type of goal that they're trying to get to. They want the status and they want the money and they want that security. So to get there, you guys are going to be, again, very quiet maybe in the beginning, very much not vocal, very much not threatening. These types of things, it's strategic. You guys are planning these sorts of things out. You're extracting the information that you guys can out of people to get to the end goal that you guys are trying to get to. Now, in terms of your creativity, your creative ideas can come through things like business, when you guys are working on your business, when you guys are working in general, when you guys are maybe being coached or mentored, boom, you guys get an idea, you guys get a download. So these could be a few ways that your ideas come through. In terms of healing and grief, let's say you guys do experience something. Sometimes what might happen is you guys might just throw yourselves right back into work. The thing is, because the Capricorn energy really is all about efficiency, it's like, it's not that you guys don't have time for that necessarily to like handle things and, you know, sit down and process things. It's just kind of like you guys have a different type of mindset where it's like your priority is to think, and you guys are going to focus on your priority. You guys can't change the past. What's done is done. And you guys kind of heal through this as kind of, you know, putting that one foot in front of the other and getting to the goals that you guys are seeking to get to. Now, in terms of your father and maybe issues that you guys may have had with him, could be things surrounding authority. Maybe he was very authoritative, domineering in this type of way. Maybe he was very strict. Maybe didn't really allow you guys a lot of room to grow or expand. Maybe he was very much like had a certain traditional belief system and tried to impose that on you guys. So you guys kind of felt like you guys were boxed in. Maybe you guys felt like he was cold and distant. Maybe he was busy working all the time. These types of things. So these are a few ways that the Pallas in the sign of Capricorn can manifest. If you have your Pallas in the sign of Aquarius, for you guys, the way you guys strategize going about your goals is just being yourselves. That's the whole thing here. You guys are going to be yourselves. You guys are going to use your connections, your friends, and everyone's going to know you guys for the unique person that you guys are. So you guys are basically going to use these things to get to that goal. This is how you guys strategize. This is how you guys go about it. You guys are going to go about it through your mind, through the intellectual connections that you guys do have with people, through your words, through your ideas. This is really what you guys are going to do, because it's like, ultimately at the end of the day, the energy here is like, you guys are going to stand out to people because you guys are so different, and that's what helps you guys get ahead. So there's going to be a huge focus on this. In terms of your ideas and creativity, it's going to come through ways like when you guys are maybe on your phones, right? You're using technology in one way, shape, or form, and boom, you guys get a new idea. It could be things like you guys just thinking. That's that Aquarian mind, is the Aquarian energy, and boom, an idea comes through. It can be through engaging in humanitarian issues. Maybe you guys are helping someone, or maybe you're part of a cause or a nonprofit, and these types of things. And there you go, you got a creative idea when you guys are engaging in this. A few ways that you guys can heal, or maybe heal grief that has happened to you and taken place, could be things like just by being yourselves, being unique, taking the time that you guys need. You guys can sometimes be energetically detached, so maybe detaching from the outside things and taking that time that you guys do need to heal and process certain things. It can also be through your friends, hanging out with your friends. This could be very much a healing experience for you guys, and the ideas. So anytime you guys are engaging in ideas, speaking about it, talking about it, anything that basically gets that mind working and rolling for you guys, it's going to be very much a healing experience. In terms of issues that you guys may have had with your father, could have been things like maybe he was very distant, emotionally distant, maybe absent in this way, just not present for you guys. He could have been very detached. He could have kind of just been doing his own thing. Maybe he had his own projects that he was working on. Maybe he had his own aspirations. Maybe he was like an inventor and like locked away in like a room somewhere and just like focusing on his projects. So because of this, maybe some issues did arise between the two of you. Kind of giving you guys just a few random examples, but these are a few ways that this energy can manifest if you guys do have Pallas in the sign of Aquarius. Pallas in the sign of Pisces. For you guys, the strategy for you guys and the way you guys go about achieving your goals is going to be very much Piscean. So Pisces does deal with unconditional love. It's all about like that peacekeeper energy. It's very much different than Libra in that sense because they just want to keep the vibes high. You guys might come off very much understanding to people, very much high vibrational as a person, very much open, very much familiar. There's a familiarity energy that happens with the Piscean energy, and you guys might take this to your advantage. Keep in mind, Pallas is all about the strategy, the strategic ways we get to our goals. You guys might use your intuition to get you guys where you're trying to get to. You guys might be very feeling based. You guys might tap into situations and be like, okay, this is how I can react in this situation. Even in situations where you guys have like an opponent or someone that you're trying to gauge, you guys are going to use your intuition. You're going to use that psychic ability that you guys have. So it's like, okay, based on what you're picking up on from that person, you're going to give them a certain type of answer. Let's say it's a job interview, right? You're maybe reading them, reading their facial expressions, and you really, really want that job. It's like a dream job. And boom, you guys know what to say to appease them to get that job. That's that strategic energy. Now, in terms of creativity and your ideas, they're probably going to come through in dreams, maybe for you guys, psychic visions. Anytime you guys are contemplating or like focusing your energy on something, it might come through. It can come through when you guys are romanticizing or just dreaming, like in general, like daydreaming. It could come through when you guys are listening to music or just engaging in art in one way, shape, or form. You guys can get your creative ideas. In terms of healing, and let's say grief has taken place for you guys, the Piscean energy is very good at this. It's a water sign. So you guys are going to really feel your emotions. You guys are going to take the time to feel into it, to maybe separate, to take time to understand everything that you guys are feeling. This could be very much healing for you guys. Art could be very much healing for you guys. A form of expression, music, all these sorts of things. Maybe screenwriting, taking your ideas, taking these experiences that have happened to you and, putting them out there, putting them outwards. If not any of these things, you guys can always just journal to get these sorts of emotions out. But keeping in mind, the Piscean energy is very good at feeling emotions. I mean, if they're not in the shadow aspects of Pisces, in which case you guys might fall into escapism. But if we're going to focus on the positive energy here, these are a few ways that you guys can heal. Now, issues you guys may have had with your father could be maybe your father was an escapist. Maybe there was addictions of some sort. Pisces addictions can really go on a range. They can be things like working all the time. They can be things like traveling all the time, hanging out with your friends all the time. It can be things like drinking or even substance abuse. So these are a few issues that maybe you had with your father. There could have even been issues with the father where it's like maybe he was too much of a dreamer or a cloud talker, or he would always say all these things he wants to do but never actually do them. Because again, that Piscean energy is more feminine energy leaning. So if you had a father who did have this energy, maybe he struggled with that energy internally and maybe he didn't have the drive. Maybe he didn't have a way to actually put these ideas into action. So these are just a few examples of how this energy can manifest for those of you who do have Pallas in the sign of Pisces. I do hope that you guys did enjoy my little mini series here in terms of the asteroid of Pallas. I hope I gave you guys a little bit more clarity as to what this might mean. If you guys did enjoy this video, please do like, share, and subscribe. You guys can always let me know in the comments below as well. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.